This is Peter Sewell. He's the owner of Durocher Florist in West Springfield. Now, you've seen him come on the show all the time. He's always bringing absolutely gorgeous flowers. But we're taking a trip to his home. We're in your greenhouse.
We're in the greenhouse.
And now, at home, you don't do as many beautiful flowers. What's your real passion when you're here?
This is my greenhouse for starting vegetables and annual flowering plants for around the house.
Now we're going to take you on a tour in a little bit, but first familiarize us with this, because a lot of people, me included, we've been talking about it for a while. We really want to get good at vegetable gardening. This is how you make it real easy on yourself.
Yeah, this is something that I bought. I think 4 years I've had it now. Kind of a luxury for a home gardener, but it's really what you need if you want to grow a good quality transplant. And get a good jump on the growing season. So
we're a little bit late this time of year if people want to start stuff, because really the process started inside in about February, March, and April.
Right. I started some planting March 30th. Most of these plants were put in my den with the pellet stove turned up to about 80, so they germinate.
So everyone's in their shorts and t-shirts.
Everybody's in their shorts and t-shirts.
And the plants are balmy.
Yep. So as soon as they sprout, that's when I will move them out to the greenhouse where they have a little bit of light, or actually a lot of light is what they need so that they don't get tall and lanky, and they get a good sturdy, stocky plant. Then I'll space my plantings out according to the recommended seed catalog time for when they want you to start your transplants. Some are 4 to 6 weeks out, some are 4 weeks out, some are 3 weeks out, so they're kind of staggered.
Now it's not too late though, because people can direct sow certain plants.
Sure, yeah. Things like cucumbers and squash and beets and lettuces and all that can be direct sown now. Now that it's not 32 degrees.
Yeah, exactly. Now that it's very warm. And that being said, if you're ever in a greenhouse like we are right now, bear in mind it's going to be real hot in there.
Real hot. Yeah. Yeah. It's 85 out here, and we've shut the circulating fan off, so it's probably 95 in here.
Yeah, it's pretty warm. Now, Peter, tell us some of the plants that you have in here and some of the things today that you're going to be giving us tips on planting.
Yeah, some of these, the greenhouse is a little bare at this time because some of these transplants I've put out into the beds in the garden. I have a few annuals here, some zinnias, some calibrachoa, some salvia. This is the last of my tomato plants. Most of them are in the garden or given away to friends and co-workers and neighbors. I have a few ornamental pepper plants that are going to be going in, and we'll use those as a cut flower in September and October when they mature. All right,
so we have a whole lot of garden to explore today. So you want to get walking?
Sure.
All right, let's go.
You had asked about the raised beds. What are the advantages? There's several advantages. Well, number one, when you get to be my age, the weeds are about 16 inches closer to you, which is a big help when that time comes. But seriously, the soil doesn't get compacted. You never walk in it, so the soil is always fluffy. Also, the nutrients stay contained. A typical garden where you have a vegetable row and a path and a vegetable row, a lot of those nutrients will leach out into the area that you're actually walking on, so it's kind of wasteful.
Peter, we are in one of your beds here. Now this is a beet bed.
Right. Those are red beets. Red beets for me are tough because of the germination. There is inconsistency in germination, which I haven't quite figured out, even though I've been doing this a few years. So you get a lot of skips, a lot of bare spots in these rows where you have nothing. So in order to make use of the space, I always try to keep a few lettuce plants around. This one happens to be an Italian dandelion green, kind of a bitter green, but very tasty. So what I'll do in a case like this is I'll just loosen up where these spots that might be, not growing, and just pop in a couple of these plants, just to make better use of the space. And of course, I'll water those in. Typically, I wouldn't do something like this at this time of day. Might wait till a little bit later in the day, or a cooler day, or even a rainy day when the sun is not as strong. But as long as they're watered in and they're good, healthy, rooted plants, and you're not disturbing the roots, so you don't get a lot of shock, then you're okay to plant them pretty much any time of day. Although evening is best. We're here at another bed, a little larger bed that I use for squash plants. You've noticed that I've covered it with some black plastic mulch, primarily for weed control. Also, as did not happen this year with the cold weather we've had, but typically if you put it down a couple of weeks before you might want to plant it. So basically this year it's used for weed control. So I've got some squash plants I'm going to be putting in here. Now I've spaced them out, and I've just cut an X through this mulch, which is held down by some old bricks. I'm going to pop a plant in here. Same technique as we've used before. Dig a hole just slightly deeper than the plant is already growing. Pack it in, and then try to get the flaps of the plastic up close to the plant. In addition to this mulch, I'm also going to put some shredded straw mulch over it also, just to make sure that on those really hot days the sun doesn't cook the squash before you actually get it into the house, and it makes it a little bit more gentle surface for them to mature on. Now would be a good time after the last frost to directly sow them. You get a little bit of head start when you plant ahead, but up until I had my greenhouse, I always direct sowed my cucumbers and my squash and my melons.
Now don't go anywhere, because later in the show, Peter, the owner of Durocher Florist, is going to tell us a little bit about flowers, in addition to more tips and tricks for around the vegetable garden. Welcome back to Mass Appeal. We're here with Peter Sewell, where he's actually been nice enough to invite us out to your house, which I appreciate. We're talking about vegetable gardening, which is your passion. You know, a lot of people know you're the flower guy in West Springfield, but you love vegetable gardening too.
Yeah, that's what I do for fun.
So earlier in the show, we brought you some tomatoes, we showed you pepper plant tips. Now you've got a cucumber contraption. Tell us about this.
This is a little trellis. This is one that I made. You can certainly buy them through seed catalogs or garden centers. But I plant my cucumbers and allow them to grow up this trellis, which does two things. It keeps the fruit off of the ground. It kind of hangs through the trellis or on top of the trellis. Plus, as they grow up, it makes a nice shady area for some of that late season lettuce. I'll plant some lettuce, microgreens or mixed greens under there, and they won't bolt in the heat, go to seed in the heat like they would if they were exposed in the garden. So you get kind of a double duty out of the contraption. That's
a great use of companion planting. That's a term that a lot of people use when you pair certain things to get maximum benefits out of it.
Yep.
So we are going to plant 4 of them. 4 go in a row about this large.
Yeah.
And how easy is this?
It's very easy.
Okay.
You'll see as you pop the plant out of the pot, it's got a great root system.
Yeah. Now, do you like to rip the root system open or keep it intact?
No, I like to keep it intact. With the soil being so soft and the plant's so vigorous, I don't see a lot of need for that. If you happen to have started your plants in peat pots, a lot of people will plant those entirely.
Oh, the whole pot, because they biodegrade.
Right. The only thing you have to keep in mind with that is that you don't let the lip of the peat pot come above the soil surface, because that'll wick the moisture out. The air will hit that, it'll just suck the moisture right out of it.
Oh, and we don't want that.
No, we don't want that.
Okay, so what do we do here?
Basically, dig a little hole.
Okay.
The same depth as the plant, or slightly deeper.
Okay.
And pack the soil around it. Give it a little press, and it's as easy as that. Set it slightly below the soil surface, press it in, and just fill it in. Of course, we'll give these a good drink of water immediately after we put these in to settle the soil around the roots and get rid of any air spaces, and to give the plant a drink so that it doesn't shock during the warm weather here. This is a bed of one of the varieties of peppers that we have. This is one called Biscayne, which is a yellow frying pepper, very prolific. As you can see, they're planted probably a little closer than the seed manufacturer would recommend, which is a fault of mine. So I use the cages around them to kind of keep them contained. They'll get to a certain point where the fruit will, tend to topple the plants over, especially when it thunderstorms or you get a high wind. So I use these cages to kind of keep them contained and to keep them upright. Are there any other plants that you might recommend cages for? I use cages on all my tomatoes. I used to stake them, but I found that the production is a little bit greater when you use the cages. There's also disadvantages. The foliage is so dense. Sometimes you'll get some fungal diseases when you have a lot of hot and humid weather, especially with the lower leaves. They'll get the yellow spot. Typically, I'll come along and just take those leaves and trim them up with a knife or scissors or shears to kind of keep that in check. You can use a fungicide on it also, but typically I don't use anything in the garden. I just suffer through.
Peter, we've been looking at all these garden beds, these raised beds, and the thing that amazes me is it's like you have a protractor out here. How do you get it so even?
You mean like I measure it?
I think it's like you...
Yeah, I do. Just back off a little bit and I'll show you.
I'm walking out. Take it away.
This is a little contraption I made out of a rake and a little piece of tomato steak with some drywall screws going through it. So I'll just rake it across in this direction, and then I'll come around and finish the grid in this direction. Follow the lines. We're here on my back deck. We're going to plant a window box. These are railing boxes that you can pick up almost anywhere. First thing I do with these boxes is I'll enlarge the drain holes. Drain holes on the bottom are typically not adequate, so I'll either drill out the holes that are there larger or add some so you get good drainage. No plants like to sit with their roots in water. And this particular one, I'm going to put some licorice vine in. I used to plant with potato vines, but I found that the potato vines actually produce potatoes in the planter, which displaces a lot of the soil, and have trouble keeping them hydrated during the hot weather. So I'm swapping over to licorice vines this year. Let you guys know how I do.
Peter, we finished.
Cheers.
For today. We planted a whole lot of stuff. Thanks for bringing me out to your garden.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Now, vegetable plants aplenty. I'm sure we're going to have some glorious salads later in the summer, but primarily, especially in the shop, Durocher Florist, you sell flowers like the ones that we have right here. Mm-hmm. And people can get all different kinds, all different occasions. They can come to you.
Sure.
If people want more information about you, how can I get it?
Durocherflorist.com. Browse through or contact us directly. Any questions that anybody might have, especially regarding anything that they might have bought as a gift for Mother's Day, care, directions, give us a call.
Well, that's what's great too in coming out here. You're not just a florist, you're a guy who has a passion for anything that grows in the soil. And so you love it when people call in to ask you questions.
Right. We live it. We do it every day, and we even do it for fun.
Exactly. When you go home from a long day of doing garden-related things, this gentleman right here does garden-related things.
Yep.
Well, thanks for letting us share in it.
Thank you.
This is delicious. More information, DurocherFlorist.com.